Testing. 1, 2. The Mr.Nobody podcast. Episode 36. Let your mind speak. What does your mind tell you? What would you say if you weren't afraid of someone judging your thoughts? What would come out of your mouth if you allowed your mind to speak? What does your mind tell you? Tell you. We often hear that phrase, think before you speak, which is good advice, because you don't want to say something that's going to get you beat up, or killed, or hurt somebody. But suppressing your honesty, suppressing the truth of your feelings and of your thoughts is also damaging. So we need to mediate that tension. For example, let's say with songwriting, where you try to chase the trend rather than express your moment. Something unconcerned with industry. Chasing the trend allows us perhaps to have a bit of success, to sound current, to think that we're relevant. Whenever you have a hit song, there's maybe 10 similar tunes that trail it. So there's a strategy there that has some logic, that makes some sense. What about survival hunting? Hunter. If one person catches an antelope in a particular valley, you're going to go down into that valley. You can model that success, but you can see there's something not quite original or authentic in chasing after somebody else's success or trying to imitate it, let's say. Hunting is survival, or it should be. Art is about originality, or it should be. If you hunt as a sport, I think there's something not quite necessary about that. If you hunt for food and there's ample prey, that's a reality that I can accept. But if you kill all the animals for sport, or any animal for sport, there's something seriously wrong with you. That's interesting. It's leading me down this little thought process of the same actions, the same activity is acceptable in one sphere, but unacceptable in another sphere, or when the reality changes, when the pressure is not there. People who go kill large animals in Africa aren't doing that for wildebeest steak or lion meat. They're doing it because they're fucking assholes, and they haven't thought it out, in my opinion. My nobody opinion. The question of right and wrong. What is something that is wrong? What is something that is right? Humans often rely on superstitions, customs, and religions for those answers. I personally do not believe in a, how can I put this, a god or gods. My father was a priest. I saw a lot of priests when I was a kid. It was a clown show. I don't want to judge our religion on a handful of knuckleheads, but my whole life has been an investigation of what's going on there. What are religions? What do they believe? Why do they believe it? Having read through many religious texts and studied religious beliefs, I got absolutely nothing out of Zen. Shut up. It wasn't really very hard to both appreciate and reject them, certainly as truth on the plate they were being served on, which is absolute truth, as something divine, something supernatural, or magical. I personally could have authored many better religions than are out there, just with a notebook and thought. But I appreciate them in some way, in the fact that they came to be. And some of the religions are so convoluted that we're better off without them, or certainly without portions of them. which would effectively negate their
supposed divinity.
But in many of these religions, there are also pieces that are true. And that's what I think happens when these things evolve, is you fold in
truly good humanistic
items, principles, pieces that give us the ability to think maybe the whole thing is good. Mercy, charity, brotherhood,
love, whatever.
Love. Even a mere cursory examination of any religious
system
should be enough to make you reject it. And of course, we reject all the religions that we're not a part of.
We only accept our own dogma.
I enjoy reminding Buddhists that even Buddha was not a Buddhist.
Shut up.
Now, having said those things, and my apologies to the believers
I don't mean to
harm you with my words, I do feel a very powerful, what I call native or intrinsic
spirituality.
I feel it when something is good, when somebody helps somebody, when a person falls on the street and you see many people
rush to their help, to their aid.
It's built into us. People do that before they have a time to think. It seems to ignite before any idea of reciprocity comes about. There's just something good about that. I saw a commercial on the television of a place that rescues injured animals.
Evidently,
millions of animals, usually hit by cars, are brought into places like this. I had no idea of the carnage and the hurt
that we cause with our cars on our way to
the gas station to get cigarettes. The shit we hit when you see them, the foxes, the possums, the raccoons, the snakes, the birds swaddled and accepting human help.
You know they want to live.
You can see it in their eyes. They want to live just as badly as you do. That's a kind of Schopenhauerian image to me.
Is that even an adjective?
Of how powerful the will to live inside every living creature. Nietzsche, a few years later, adjusted that
concept
to will to power. Now you got me doing it, which I think comes a step or two later.
And I'll give you an example.
A few weeks after my son died with the fucking
stupid use of heroin,
which was sold to him by some
asshole drug dealer
who that same weekend killed 8 or 9 other fucking fools, I had to endure a memorial.
Back in the little town where I had raised my son,
I had this encounter with a bug.
I was cleaning my apartment
that I lived with and basically raised my son in. It was
and is
a converted garage. And I don't know why I'm so proud of it, but I converted that garage.
I took down the garage door, I built a wall, I laid a floor.
I carved out as much of the underneath of the house as I could make into an apartment. I put in windows. I thought it would take me 6 weeks.
It took me 6 months.
To finally finish this tiny little apartment. Hobbit hole.
Half of it
underground.
On a slope.
And we loved that apartment because it was, I want to say, humble.
In the Stoic sense.
That the apartment rose to the level of comfort, utility, and honesty that felt
like a home.
I personally disliked too much comfort or opulence. This was the man cave, the tree fort underground that I never had. And it was paradise. A castle. A fortress. Those were the happiest moments of my life. Being in there with our guitars, our books, and the cat.
I hardly go back there now.
And the cat. I'm like, I don't know what I am.
I just feel like
if you have too much stuff, too much wealth all around you, too much comfort, it's just bad for the human health. That doesn't mean
poverty.
It doesn't mean that. For me, it's about utility, the right tools, the right space.
And I felt like a king in there, in this little apartment.
I had a bookshelf with the most amazing books in it, and they reflected my mind. I have since dismantled that bookcase. gone digital, but once upon a time.
So in this little apartment,
The first time I returned to it since he died, traumatized, I had this experience with a bug. His memorial. It was going to be worse than his funeral. I was going to have to face all his friends with the shame. And I was
cleaning,
something I do. And there was one of these bugs that has 50 legs. Not a centipede, but it's
got these,
multiple legs on each side. Looks like a little scorpion.
but it's not. It's just an insect.
Not an arachnid. And it was in the tub. And since I hadn't been there in a few weeks because
Well, you know.
I was about to clean the bathtub and
Put some water in there.
and this bug came out of the drain. And I could see it panic. I could see it grope to the sides of the tub, which were slick and smooth, and it couldn't grip. I could tell by the way it was struggling that it couldn't swim.
I could fucking hear that bug scream.
Help, I don't want to die. And it was doing everything it could
To not die.
And I thought to myself, this bug has more fucking intelligence than my son had.
More will to live.
Is it intelligence or is it just will? Will to life.
Respect of life.
And it lived in this fucking basement, and it was probably heavenly and castle for this to bug. Have its other bugs around it.
It could breathe.
It could live, and it didn't want to die, drowning in water, which was something
outside of its comfort zone.
or outside of its nature. How could heroin users not see this, not understand
But what they're doing,
is flirting with death, not at a distance, but right up close.
tongue in each other's mouth.
It's fucking ridiculous. So I got a dustpan and scooped the bug up. And it was traumatized. It was like laying on its side. Its legs were all on one side. It was like panting, near death. Soaked, out of strength. Traumatized. And I brought it into the sunlight so I could help it dry out. Now this was the kind of bug that if my wife saw it, she'd be like, oh my God, kill it. Because they run really fast and they're always where they're not supposed to be. But that was the end of that for me. I never killed one of these again. We made friends, dried him out. Slowly got his legs back under his body and started to lift himself a little bit. And then I put him in the part of the basement, way in the back, that didn't have any living space, but would be ostensibly a bug paradise. And off he ran, full of life, full of the desire to live its life. Sorry to call it an it. I couldn't sex it. I saw no difference between that bug, myself, and any animal that is in touch with its native spirituality, its desire to experience this privilege makes its environment so bad that other members of its species would rather fucking die, would give up their will to life rather than try to improve or get the fuck out. Humans seem to be the only animal that create the most horrible environments, both physically, with garbage and crime and ugly, and mentally, with excuses, addictions, and predatory behaviors.
I'm having a thought.
That I'm the one who doesn't understand. I'm the one who's having the problem. I'm the one who's ignorant.
Of why things are happening.
And I'm just looking at the presentations
With
befuddlement. In my son's case, with horror, with anger, with sadness.
how could you do this, son?
I say that out loud every fucking day. How could you do this? And then it goes further into, how could anyone do this? And then it goes further into,
You're being
helped to do it by people who are evil, straight up evil. And then it goes further,
I'm one of them.
because I'm one of people. And then I get into this cycle of, well, you can imagine where it goes. It goes from very personal
To out. I was just thinking when I was making my breakfast, and I'm very grateful, I'm very thankful that I can even have breakfast, that I can even eat.
that I really hated my father. But I loved and hated him at the same time. I tried running away. Just a few moments ago, I was thinking, what could have made
A kid, small, run away. I got 10 miles.
There must have been something really wrong, and there was. Who am I? What am I doing? What am I doing? I thought I knew, and I thought my own
Childhood trauma and injuries was behind me.
I guess in some sense it is behind me, but now I'm living this incapacity to understand.
About my son.
I seriously do not understand why my father did what he did, us kids, hurting us physically all the time.
Being a straight up fucking asshole.
I know that he had severe trauma in his life, but why cause more? And that's what he did. And that's what I think that's very selfish. Also, to harm innocence.
It's wrong. Just a word on eating. I was in a cafe.
A diner, old-fashioned, with a long row of
Individual stools.
that were bolted to a little raised platform. I was having a quick
No
breakfast.
big deal, right? Shut up.
A person sat next to me.
And I say this with all due respect to this person. I could not tell if they were a man or a woman.
And it wasn't because they were gender non-specific.
It was because death was close and had erased their sexuality.
Is a corpse still a man or a woman? Or
And it,
at that point, that being a man or a woman, male, female, or whatever
Gender.
you say you are, is something that has to do with being alive.
just curious.
Anyway, as I was proceeding on my hurried little breakfast, this person feebly got themselves onto the stool.
And waved at the waiter.
Enough so where it seemed that he recognized and brought this person what they typically ordered.
Very simple grilled cheese sandwich.
And this was breakfast. And this person attempted to eat
Would appear to me to be their last meal.
one that wouldn't make it through the mouth down into the body, but only got as far as the mouth. And as
The pieces of
sandwich were falling out of their mouth,
back onto the plate.
and they were coughing, choking, and crying.
No big deal, right? Hey man, are you okay? Or, excuse me, ma'am, are you okay? So I looked over at the waiter and I said, hey, there's a problem over here. And and he quickly threw a napkin over the plate, and somebody from the restaurant came and collected this person and whisked them away. And I was fairly certain that I had witnessed somebody's last meal, because there was a translucence to them, a departing nature, if there is such things. I felt some sense of privilege again, that I could sit here at this counter, drink coffee, read my book, go somewhere, and this person sitting next to me, another human, just like me, couldn't even manage one bite of their last meal. We're all bugs. We're just fucking bugs. Damn, I need some funk.
Wow, fun stuff. But at least we're bugs. How about that? We get to crawl around, we get to eat, we get to do stuff.
Sure,
bad things are gonna happen, or let's just say inevitable things are gonna happen. Not every bad thing needs to happen.
maybe we don't have any free will.
Maybe we're just
Robots,
driven by our nature.
driven by our preconditions. Could be
But it seems like I've made some choices
in my life
that have been
for the better. Choices to take care of my children, to clean my shit up, to get off of drugs, tobacco, alcohol, to get my body into shape.
I think I'm struggling now with trying to get my mind and my heart somewhere better. I suppose I can as I'm saying this, but
I'm not happy being so hateful, so angry, and so bitter.
that's what I am. That's what I am. That's what I am.
Is that my bug nature?
Do bugs get heartbroken? Do they lack the willpower?
Make choices to change their destinies.
I'm trying to understand. I just don't.
I'll keep trying.
And maybe there is no understanding.
There is no coming out of the cave
Into the light, into the light.
and saying, oh, I understand why my son went back to heroin and killed himself. And it wasn't the night. I'm not pissed off at the night that he killed himself. He started dying the second his finger fucking texted that drug dealer. That was the doorway. That's when the door opened. And that's when the door closed. And I'm stuck in this drain.
Kind of stuck, kind of stuck.
I want to finish up talking to you by reading you a text that somebody sent me that literally knocked me out of my fucking world. Here's what the stranger wrote after one of my outbursts. Having lost many, I can promise you it lifts. But you do have to work on you, how you view those suffering with addiction, and what you want your own life to be now. Process the grief. Feel it all. Know the anger. And then don't lose your own life to drowning in suffering. I wasn't able to write back anything witty. I was just lifted out of the tub by her dustpan. And I managed to dry out a little bit and realize that life is what you make it. You're not owed shit. It's what you make it. Or let me just say it's what I make it for myself. I can't get there by forcing it. I can't not be here. But I can also acknowledge that staying here maybe is my choice, my responsibility, ultimately my fault, if in doing so I disrespect the privilege of life. I wish I could say these things to my son, instead of strangers saying them to me. But that's a choice I don't have. Maybe you can not make that the reality, not cause more trauma, and choose a better future for yourself. Whatever that means. Mr.Nobody. Out.
Although I have the strength, I lack the will. The 1,000 years I drank left me sick and standing still. Diamonds don't form overnight. The dark doesn't know there's sunlight. Although I have a mind, I long to kill the dreams I left behind. The distant screams of bitter pills. Hearts don't unbreak in real time. Mountains don't care if you mountain climb. Although I'm breathing still, I'm torn to shreds. I lost a daffodil in a universe of flower beds. Some worlds will never evolve. Some crimes will never be solved.